Hi, Dave Jones here again. We're going to look at a technique today that's very useful in blues and rock playing for your lead playing. It's called string bending, and it's used, like I say, in basically all blues playing and rock playing will contain some form of string bending in the lead playing. The important thing, first of all, though, is to get the hand position right for this particular technique. So I'll just show you that. As usual, there's a PDF up on the website that you might want to download to follow along with the lesson. So we're going to start on the 7th fret of the G string, and I'm going to put my third finger on that note, but I'm also going to put my second finger and first finger on the same string, and they're there for support in the bend and control in the bend. You should never bend, especially if you're a beginner, you should never bend with one finger. I mean, some people, later on you might want to do a first finger bend or something like that, but to get this actual technique and get the intonation, that's the tuning of the bend right, it's essential when you first start that you use all three fingers and bend with the third finger and the other two, fingers 1 and 2, as support for the bend. The other thing is you can have your thumb over the top for this, and what you don't want to be doing is having your fingers come on straight on the guitar like this and pushing the note up on the guitar, pushing the string upwards, because you can damage your fingers, and it's also very hard to keep it in tune with just the power of your fingers pushing it up. What you need to do is have your thumb over the top, get your fingers on at this sort of angle here, and then when you're bending, what you're doing is you're bending not only from your fingers, but you're using your whole forearm and wrist for to produce the strength to bend the string up. So your hand is moving in this motion, and if you can see, I don't know if you can see in the shot there, my forearm is also pivoting to push the note up. So you've got all the three fingers on, and when you're bending a string, what you're doing is you're increasing the pitch of the note. Most of the time on the guitar, you're increasing it by 1 fret, which is a semitone, so there's the 7th fret there, and that's the 8th fret of the G string. 7th fret of the G string, 8th fret of the G string. And then when you're bending, you're playing the 7th fret of the G string, and you're pushing it up to the pitch of the 8th fret that you're hearing in your head. String bending is a great technique, but can sound really bad if it's not in tune. So practicing the intonation and getting it in tune is very important. So what I would suggest to start with is you play, as the PDF's written, you play the 7th fret of the G string, followed by the 8th fret of the G string. Get that note in your ear, in your head. And then bend that note up to the same pitch. Being careful to twist the wrist, forearm for support in the bend. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's what's called a semitone bend. It's a 1 fret bend. Now I would suggest, I'll show you in a sec, but I would suggest you practicing it at various places around the guitar fingerboard, because it's easier, for example, to bend here. Say I'm doing the 12th fret now on the G string, and I'm playing the 13th fret, and then bending up the 12th fret to the pitch of the 13th fret. And what you'll find is midway between, it's called the scale length, between this end of the guitar and this end of the guitar, dead in the centre is the easiest place to bend. Whereas, say for example, this end of the neck is harder to bend. So until you get the hand position and the pitch correct, try to bend around here, practice this, and that would be slightly easier, and then gradually move it around different strings on the B string now, B string at the 8th fret, playing the B string at the 9th fret, same thing, and we're bending it up 1 semitone. So that's a 1 semitone bend. Now the next most common bend is what's called a 2 semitone bend, or 2 frets. And again, this is shown on the PDF. I'm back here now to the 7th fret of the G string, the note D, and this time we're going to bend it to the note E, which is at the 9th fret. So we're going 2 frets now. So the same applies. Get the pitch, and then bending up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's your 2-fret bend, and you do exactly the same thing once you've established the pitch and you can confidently bend, making sure that your hand position is right and you're pivoting correctly. Then you try it in different places. So here we are on the 8th fret of the B string, and we're going up to the 10th fret of the B string. So from note G to the note A. And try that all over the fingerboard. And once you've nailed it, you'll be able to bend in tune. It's really good to practice bending to backing tracks, because the backing track's giving you the key in the background and you're bending the note up. And there's many different types of bends that you can do. I'll just show you a quick close-up of the bend, the hand position, and then I'll talk about some other different types of bends. Okay, so here we are with a close-up of what the exercise we were just doing. It's the 7th fret there of the G string, the note D. Play the note E flat, the next note up. And then what we're doing is we're bending. So you can see the twisting of the forearm and the twisting of the hand. And then once you've established that, 2 frets, playing the note D, 7th fret, note E, 9th fret. Again, twisting up to the top there. But like I say, you always need to have at least 2 fingers supporting, but preferably 3 when you're first starting out, and later on maybe sometimes you get like the Chuck Berry sort, where I'm bending with 2 fingers there and using that finger to play this next couple of notes here. Okay, so that's the general hand position for string bending, and the idea of sometimes you'll see in some professionally written guitar tabs, you might see it in tab books and stuff. Sometimes you see a term over a bend. It's usually got an arrow up. It has on the PDF that I've written that says half. That means a semitone bend, or 1 or full sometimes, which means a tone bend. And sometimes you'll see a term that says quarter, which is a kind of a blues bend. It's more like a curl. And I would suggest that if you're going to start using bends in solos, probably one of the best styles to start with is a nice blues or slow blues style, because although, as I said, string bending in tune is very important, and really important that you practice to get it in tune, sometimes you can get away with slightly out of tune string bends in the blues, so you can concentrate more on your actual technique of hand position and getting the feel in your wrist and forearm for the bend, and then concentrate a little bit more on the pitch later on. So for example, don't attempt string bending in a solo over a slow ballad if you haven't got the pitch right, because it sounds absolutely horrible. But in blues you can sort of get away with it a bit more and concentrate more on the technique. There's various, you can experiment endlessly with different types of string bending. There's choke bend, which is a really quick bend, and what I'm using my fretting hand here to kill the note. You can do rising bends, where you teasing, sort of repeatedly pick the note as you're rising up. You can do teasing bends, so you're not quite going up to the note a couple of times, and then you go up to note. And when you've finally exactly nailed the technique, what you'll find is that you can do what's called a release bend, where what you do there is you bend the note up first and come back down into it. So what I'm doing there is you just get a feel for it in the end of how far to push the note up. So you push the string bend up first and come back down into it. You can bend up, hold on to it, and let it back down again. So there's untold things that you can do with string bends. The first thing to do is get the hand position right, and make sure you're supporting your fingers so you don't damage your fingers, and then practice the technique of semitone bends, tone bends, and then just generally experiment. Listen to songs, listen to famous players, and see if you can emulate their forms of string bending, whether they're bending up and letting it back down again. It's very important to listen to famous guitar players, particularly ones that you might like, and listen to the various bends that they do, and how fast or how slow they do them, and that sort of thing, and it'll really enhance your lead playing. So I hope you found that useful, and I'll see you again sometime.